The sound system's amplifier delivers the electrical signal that carries all the sound frequencies. Inside each main system speaker, an electronic component called the crossover separates the frequency ranges and sends them, via designated cables, to the appropriate driver. They make each melon-shaped woofer out of 12 aluminum segments. They glue acoustic foam to each segment, then trim the foam to the shape of the aluminum. Workers assemble the woofer upside down in an assembly fixture. They glue the segments vertically between this woofer's voice coil, which has 2 cables attached to it, and a mounting plate. The structural rod through which they'll feed the other driver's cables is in the center. Once all the segments are aligned and fixed in place, they coat the edges with glue. Then, they adhere rubber gaskets in between the segments to block the gaps and prevent air from exiting. They seat copper strips in the segment's grooves, hooking the ends into holes at the top and bottom. Brass, aluminum, copper, every type of material used in these speakers has specific acoustical properties. The combination produces a natural sound balance. They fill the hollow interior space around the center rod with sound dampening material. First, synthetic insulating wool with long, coarse fibers. Then, on top of that, a barrier of cotton insulating wool to prevent those coarse fibers from touching the voice coil. Next, they install the painted brass ring they milled earlier, which now has the woofer's magnet affixed to it. They place a spacer, thread a screw, pull the voice coil's 2 cables through the center, then solder those cables, together with the cables from the other drivers, to a main cable that will plug into the crossover. They flip the woofer right side up and pour liquid sound dampening compound into the center rod. The cables inside are too delicate to be shoving in insulating wool. Workers now begin assembling the speaker. First, soldering the 2 remaining crossover cables, mid-range and high frequency, to the respective driver cables. The tweeter connection cables are attached to the tweeter magnet, installed earlier on top of the mid-range driver. They now mount this unit on top of the woofer. They install the connectors in the crossover. Its electrical components separate the frequency ranges and send each one to a designated connector, which sends it to the cable leading to the appropriate driver. After sliding the crossover onto the speaker's base, made of milled brass, they close up the top with the mounting plates, between which they've since sandwiched a thick piece of wood. Screw-in stainless steel support posts hold everything together and direct all the weight down to the floor, rather than into the speaker structure. They install an aluminum crossbar for structural support, then a second set of posts. They fit the ring at the base of the woofer into the mounting plate hole, securing it with screws. They insert the tweeter's voice coil into the tweeter magnet that's mounted on top of the mid-range driver, that's mounted on top of the woofer. They solder the tweeter cables to the 2 connectors on the tweeter cover plate. This completes the lower trio of drivers. Now they install an identical upper trio, but upside down, so that the 2 tweeters face each other in the middle of the tower. They mount the crossover for the upper trio and plug in the connector that joins the 3 cables. That brings the correct frequencies to the 3 drivers. They run test tones through every completed speaker. A microphone positioned just over 3 feet away picks up the emitted frequencies, which a computer analyzes for accuracy. Once the speaker passes inspection, they install a decorative grille over each woofer voice coil. The subwoofer tower radiates the lowest frequencies with 6 huge drivers and a built-in amplifier.